You're listening to Chameleon Church, biblical antidotes for the modern man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
Yep. Tuesday, October 10th, Allan Aguirre, host of your Chameleon Church show. Coming to you live and direct from the Wasatch back in northern Utah. And yeah, let's get the boys on in here. Gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was sent a link this morning by my daughter. Let's see. I have conversations with my family on like 15 different platforms. I'm trying to remember which one. So one of the ladies, so as you know, my daughter's going to Brazil. And one of the ladies going to Brazil, her pastor's brother lives in Israel and has been sent to the front lines. He has a blog, John's live blog. It's cryforzion.com. He's doing some updates. And one of the things he says on day 6 update, well, update 6, Monday afternoon, which is right now. Enlisted forces in the IDF often have, no, not there. Let's see here. Another volley of Hamas. No. Details of how Hamas tricked Israel are starting to leak out. Iran seems to have been heavily involved, which is what I said. I've been saying that since Saturday morning. While Hamas spent a year prepping their deception against Israel, it is striking how well Hamas knows its opponents. They knew it would be tempting for Israel to think that they were moderating and becoming less radical, so they pretended to be too interested in humanitarian aid and assistance than doing any more fighting. The news cycle is spinning faster than a jet engine. And then, of course, the North is doing their thing. If you've been doing a lot, I know a lot of you have been. This isn't new to a lot of you. You kind of a lot of you watch this kind of stuff when it happens. You have the alert app, and it just looked, on Friday. It just, I posted on Friday night that this was happening. It just seemed like a normal. I'll use the word normal. It just seemed like a normal, you know, Palestinian rocket deal. It was not only was it Shabbat, it was their high Shabbat for the last day of the feast because of their calendar, because they're the traditional calendar, the fixed calendar. But when I woke up Saturday morning and saw what was happening, I knew immediately it was not a normal. This was not normal. Palestinians don't have. They're not that. I'm going to say it. They're just not that smart. Um, this was obviously a coordinated effort with a bigger player involved. Pulling the strings, organizing it, strategizing it. Someone else was behind it. It wasn't just Hamas. And I immediately thought Iran because that's just how that this stuff works out. So it's you have to be completely ignorant. You have to completely have your head in the sand not to know or understand or believe that that's how this has happened and how this has played out. That's where the money came from. That's where the strategy came from. That's where the training. And I guarantee you, they're not only were they doing that from behind the scenes, they're actually on the ground. I guarantee you, we'll find that out. Mark, take a note, date, timestamp. I am suggesting that yes, there are Iranian forces mixed in with Hamas. Yeah, I'm telling you. Also, we have sleeper cells here in the southern border. What border? That's a joke. I guarantee you, we have this type of players in, inside. We know that for a fact. We found camps, training camps. We have them here in the state. And the fact that there are Hamas rallies supporting Hamas. And I said this last night. Let's get one thing straight. What we have seen from their own footage, from their own cameras, is nothing less than um, war crimes. What they're doing, it's real simple. It's called war crimes. When you start taking the elderly, women, and children. I'm going to stop there before I say something really, really nasty. What's up, guys?
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, sobering. Very sobering.
What's your take? How was your weekend, Kris? How's the end of your feast?
Well, all things considered, it was good. I mean, makes the Psalms more real to me when I'm reading them by the fire pit, camping out in a tent, which I did again this weekend, and um, waking up, going to bed Saturday night. I mean, that the prayer for our pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I mean, it just it's interesting, just current events. Uh, it's sobering, but also uplifting when you read the Psalms. Like, man, oh, this is real. You see some of those images going around, and you're just like, man, this is, I mean, horrible. I mean, stuff that you don't want to see.
Yeah,
And it would be that way for any human and in any nation, or seeing a particular image I saw of women, and you're just like, this is horrible. And then just I was thinking about, one of my prayers was talking about grieving the Lord, or the Lord being grieved, or having compassion, and I was contemplating that, and his people, and war in general, and killing and murder, and it's demonic. It's horrible. And but then also taking confidence in the Psalms, sitting around the fire pit. And I talked about it last week, waving wolf branches every day this week, and was doing laps on the property, and so my heart is steadfast. The steadfast love of the Lord endures forever. Um, I just feel, but it's sobering. But it also centers your prayer, I would say, or
Mhm.
it does for me. Like, um, and it's a reality, and it brought discussion among our family at dinner. Um, and I was just talking about, the kids have questions, and I was talking about the crescendo. Both my kids understand music, and so you have the crescendo and how that's notated in music, and saying eventually this happens. Eventually, the Lord redeems all His people. Eventually, all the kings of the earth will come and worship. Eventually, but before that, this has to happen and this has to happen. I'm saying we're at the beginning of a crescendo.
Yeah.
We're not at the very, very beginning, because it's happened for thousands and thousands of years, but we are somewhere between the beginning of the crescendo and finality. But take heart, these things must happen. And so, even though it's sobering, it's also encouraging, because steps are accelerating to the Lord's return, whether that's in 12 years or whether that's in 100 years. And so that's a summation. How about you, Lenny? What's up with you, my man? You're
You're
muted.
muted.
Oh,
You're on. You're on mute, Lenny.
You're
Sorry.
on.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Well, Saturday morning, just as we were just, what we do every Saturday, we live stream stuff and just preparing our hearts. We listened to the whole Torah portion, and then this hit, and it captivated us. And I know when Allan posted the other night, I was watching, and when it hit full force, it just got my attention. So I was getting phone calls right and left. What is this? What's happening? What's going on? And this I think I mentioned the week before, a Nazarene pastor, he took me to lunch. I mean, I visited his church, and I never advertise or anything where I've been or what I've done. And this lady comes up and says, "Oh, he's a pastor." And I'm going, "Oh my gosh." So he took me out to lunch, and he just got through seeing the Jesus Revolution. And he started asking me all these questions. Well, that morning, he texts me right away. He goes, "Can you help me understand what's going on here?" And he has friends from the IDF, because just the year before, he went to Sukkot in Israel. He got to spend the whole time. His brother-in-law paid his way for their whole family to go. He's a real rich guy. And so he's really interested in the Hebrew foundations when I got to meet with him for lunch. So he called. Then I had this other couple that we've been ministering to. They had us over for Sunday night. They go, "What do you think?" I go, "Well, it's interesting. What we're watching and what we're seeing unfolding is what the prophets talked about, saying how we need to get our hearts prepared." And what John the Baptist, the calling on his life was that of Elijah, to prepare the people for the coming of the Lord. So when I look at this, at the one hand, you say, yeah, let not our heart be troubled. Jesus said these things will happen. And yet in real time, it blows up over the internet. Well, this is this, and this is this, and this is this. And so I've just been with some of the people saying, let's take a look at this and see what we're really looking at. And I think this was prophesied. This was coming about of people groups, and I think it's a harbinger. It's one of those wake up ones, because it's, if you look at Isaiah and you follow the whole theme of Isaiah, and you look at what Asaph wrote, he was a prophet in the Psalms, and you look at the Psalm 83, and we knew there was going to be a Psalm 83 war. They says, let's rise up and destroy this nation and eradicate him from the earth. they were people groups. People are getting on and saying, oh, no, this is Ezekiel 38 and 39. I go, no, it isn't. I mean, Israel has to be unwalled villages. It was at the end when all the nations would see that the Lord, his glory would fill the earth. And that's not what's happening here, because you don't have no abomination of desolation. You don't have a lot of things that have occurred. So when you look at Psalm 83 and you look at the nations that are the people groups that are involved, the ancient people groups, every single one of them are there. And if you read Psalm 83, and we could read it in a second, it says these were the ones that were coming against them. There were 9 people groups: Edom, the Ishmaelites, Gebal, Philistia, Ashur, Tyre, Lebanon, and Amalek. And so Edom is the Palestinian refugees, and it really involves Teman, Seir, Ammon, Jordan, some of Saudi Arabia. These were the people groups involved with Edom. The Ishmaelites is Moab, Ammon, and Amalek. Gebal is Lebanon. Tyre and Sidon is Lebanon. Philistia, which is Hamas, is the old Philistine territories, which is the Gaza Strip. And Ashur is the son of Lot. It says that he had the iron hand, and that was Iran, Syria, and Turkey. So you have all the ancient people groups surrounding them right now. And that's different than Ezekiel, because Ezekiel, they were nations, and no nations came to defend Israel. It was only God. Here we have America on defense. So it's one of those things that the prophetic tells us: prepare your heart for the coming of the Lord, going after holiness, going after obedience. Rico Cortez got on. He's an old Torah teacher from Florida. He says, if anything, what this tells us is not to yet be alarmed, but to be vigilant, to be that people who obey the Lord, have the testimony of Jesus, and love our life, not even unto death. When he said that, I'm going, how do we prepare our hearts for the Lord? Just what we did by obeying and observing Sukkot, because what's coming is ancient, like Allan used to say, and we're preparing our heart for that rehearsal with him. So I'm just saying it could be. I think more than likely, now that they're invaded from the north, that's what I was waiting to see. These people groups are all in line with what Psalm 83 talks about. And yet we see the victory there from the Lord. So that's just my take on it.
Can you guys hear those alerts?
Yeah, those are all the missiles going on.
Are they too loud? Can you hear that?
No, you can hear it. It's good.
Is that your phone?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it?
Huh?
What's the alert? Is that for every missile or what?
Yeah, those are the different attacks on the different locations, and they're just overlapping because it's an insane amount of volley,
I was
Well, I was
thinking
hoping.
about.
What's that?
He mentioned Psalm 83, 84. I was thinking about the one when I was praying on my bed last night. The one that kept popping into my head was, "The Lord breaks the cedars of Lebanon." Is that Psalm 29, 27 somewhere? But it just, man, just all the those psalms, those prayers are just so centered on the land, and just like, wow, this is it set the psalms differently in my heart the last few days. That's it.
It's interesting. Asaph, he was a worshiper too, and a musician, and he was one of the leading prophets getting all these downloads. And what in Psalm 60, when he deals with, everybody forgets that one where he says, the B'nai Elohim, these sons of God, he goes, you guys misrepresented me, and you're going to die like men. And then a couple of Psalms after that, you see this prophetic insight of he reaches out into the future, and you see this Psalm 83. And the interesting thing there, it shows that if you look at all the Psalms, they follow really closely with a prophetic identity to what's happening in Isaiah too, because it's all about Jerusalem and it's all about the land. And there's just some connections there that I've seen as of late going, oh my gosh, these things intertwine amazingly. And again, here, when we think of the Psalms, we think of just comfort in that these guys were prophetic worshipers that were laying out the plans of God way ahead of time.
Fox News just sent an alert. Breaking news. Israeli soldiers discover unspeakable horrors in one of the occupied towns. It's at what point, or at what point is the global community going to, address the fact that there's nothing but war crimes occurring? This is. And see, and it's amazing because it's the liberal narrative is, well, this is what Israel does to Hamas. This is what Israel does to Palestinians all the time. Which is, I can't even. How ignorant is that? I mean, it's just that perpetual lie. There's these people groups, political parties. There's these people that literally live in a. They say we live in a echo chamber.
Right.
I mean, imagine believing that false narrative about, I mean, everything they're accusing Trump of is happening with that other guy in his family. And they want to believe so badly that Israel is the aggressor, that Israel is the bad guy, but Israel doesn't do this. They don't do this. But they're so convinced of it, and you can't. It's almost impossible to have the conversation, because if you're convinced of the lie, it doesn't matter what the truth is. You don't have their wherewithal to understand it. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
They're just overlapping. So anyway, this isn't normal. This is different, and it's going to be the repercussions aren't going to be normal. It's going to be different. The outcome is not going to be normal. It's going to be different. And there's way too many interested third parties out there wanting to get in on it, and that's the thing. This could spike something of that nature,
It's interesting, the political positioning and the money behind the following the money here. You're looking at nations, whether they're going to support or not support, and how they're holding back. And I just had a thought just about Saudi Arabia. I'm going, I wonder if this is a test on them, if they're going to really come to stand at the defense of Israel, because the first comments out of their mouth weren't too good. Then they backed away and they made another comment to the realization that what happened was horrible. And so, and I was watching it because in my heart, I felt the Spirit tell me, he goes, you watch, he's going to deal with them. And for them to back off their original statement, remember, Saudi Arabia is the last of the nations that have to come into the Abraham Accord to fulfill Ezekiel 38, verses 3 through 9. And somewhere down the road, they will have normalization. So is this kickstarting even the thought process in some of these people? And looking at that, you're going, Lord, is horrible. This is give them the goods. The word of God says he will give them the goods, but he's also positioning things right now. And we look at those Abraham Accords. Ultimately, is that what God wanted? We don't know. We know that the scripture says that's going to happen. And yet there's also a scripture that says, no, don't trust in man. You should trust in me completely. So we know God's going to spank them. And this is a time really to be humble, because the words that people say, God's going to start spanking people. We know he's going to spank Israel, and yet he's never going to give up on them, just like he corrects us. And I posted a thing. Some of you saw it. I was innocently just perusing some church services, and I'm going, how come they're not praying for Israel? Some people that I know. I went on to some. I'm not going to say their names. And it kind of discouraged me. So I'm going, what? So I posted it, right? It blew up. I had a lot of people going, we're praying. Our church prayed. Then I had this one gal get on and saying, what's the big deal about Israel? Who are they anyway? They're in darkness and they need the Lord, and they're just as evil as everyone else. And I'm going, that's not what I talked about. I just said, pray for what's going on.
Wouldn't that be the best reason to pray for somebody or
Yeah.
something?
And I'm going, are you telling me this? And then we got into this big thing. She quoted me the scripture. So, of course, I went on the defense. I just rebuked it up and down.
I bet that went well on Facebook.
Well, it didn't. The thing is I wasn't mean. I was nice. I just gave her the text of scripture and saying, that's out in left field. Oh boy, she went off on me in a personal way, because I knew this person personally. I'm going, what's going on here? And then I called Allan. Allan goes, that's that anti-Semitic spirit. It's in the church big time too. It's just out there, and just people are like, well, what about the Palestinian Christians? Of course you pray for them. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the evil perpetrated. I go,
But see, that's exactly what they said about Black Lives Matter.
yeah.
Well, all lives matter. Well, no, it's not about that. It's about this.
Yeah.
See, that's what they're doing. But that's what they're doing regarding this. What they didn't want, what they were saying we shouldn't be doing.
Right.
It's crazy. So.
And so it's interesting. My emotions have been all over the place, and they're settled down now, because I'm going, wow, just look at just a few things that are just can enrage people. But a lot of people got on and just say, what are you talking about? And I wasn't the only one that had to deal with the correction on there.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see. And so the opportunity for me is hopefully it's waking up some people here in the Humboldt County area. And I'm praying that the Lord uses my voice, because when we see him, we will be like him, and everyone that hath this hope in him purifies himself, even as he is pure. This should spark a desire and a vengeance for holiness, that we love him with everything within us, obey him, and go after the joy of the Lord, just what we experienced during Sukkot. Because that's what's going to keep us. That's what's going to allow us to endure what's going to come. Never enough of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, quote, modern warfare or this kind of stuff in, quote, our modern era. It's been going on for ages, centuries, but the way it's so in our face, man, it just is darkly incredible. This wow. With our kids, we were talking about I think Alan earlier, you asked about how is this possible, and it is stunning. But if it is the beginning, where this becomes normal, because there will be even more aggression towards Israel, and so that means stuff has to happen politically or not happen, where the narrative becomes more and more common and more excused. But you can see it happening, and then we were talking about the two witnesses, you know, being killed and dragged through the streets. I mean, that you're seeing, you can see how that could happen, where you have an angry people under the influence of the demonic, in rage, killing, war atrocities. But some of the videos we've seen, you can see that happening with the two witnesses in the end. And what man, imagine video of that in the future, of them coming back to life. I mean, it gives me chills of what's coming, and how God's power, how God is allowing, I don't know the word for it, allowing it, has orchestrated it in some way for the ultimate manifestation of his glory and power. And so, as dark as it feels, and as dark as imagine being on the other side of this feeling of the way will be. I know I'll be bawling my eyes out seeing that, if I was alive then, like that joy of ultimate victory and the Lord manifesting his power coming on the clouds. Oh, and this is all crescendoing towards that. Trying to put a little positivity to it, because it's ultimately for his glory that this comes around. But the dark has to happen first.
Right. So it's like we've said, you can't have an Elijah without an Ahab and a Jezebel, and you can't have the return of Messiah without all of this going on.
That's right.
And we believe and we teach that the second coming of Messiah, is him literally coming to deliver Israel from her mortal enemies. And then he's going to establish the borders that Abraham walked. I mean, that's going to be an aggressive display of, I'm here, and I'm here, what is it? I'm here, I'm pissed, and I'm here to chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum, or something like that. And it's like,
Right.
that's going to happen, and it's actually going to get worse than this. I mean, this is bad, but can it get worse? Oh yeah, it can get worse. And yes, you're absolutely right. It's really easy to see what we think it might happen, or what that might look like, simply because we are seeing, like you said, going through the streets.
And in America, it's more stark, because you got to remember, John ate the scroll and it was sweet and bitter. And they forget that we always want the sweet part, but they forgot the bitter part. And when the scroll was in his mouth, and the thing is that this is where, like you said, a wake-up call, especially for the Western Church. It really is.
But are they even?
Yeah.
I mean,
Are they waking up?
Well, are they even aware that their alarm's going off? If it's a wake-up call for the Western Church, do they know that their alarm is going off, or are they sleeping through it?
that's where God's going to raise up the prophets, and he's raising up the prophets. Hopefully, why someone gave me this thing. Well, take a look what this prophet said. He goes, I see revival coming, and many of you are going to be launched into reaching thousands for the Lord, and you're going to see kings and this. And I'm going, you know what? Don't give me that line of BS anymore. I've heard that for 20 years. I'm going, yes, there's personal prophecy, but they're so out of touch. That part of what I've seen. And this was a family member that sent this to me. And I go, let me give you a little lesson in something. I'm going on for the prophetic. God's going to raise up the prophets. But what did the prophets do all throughout the Old Testament that we've seen? Yeah, they spoke of the Messiah, but they also, if you look at 98% of what they were talking about, was saying, get ready, God's in your midst, and why aren't you obeying him?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and here he is, and this is what it looks like. And like you said, are they really hearing it? Is the Western church hearing it? That's why I posted it. I'm going, are they really praying? And
Yeah.
exactly what you said, Allan. I know.
So we need to so our response, or our what does this look like for us? You know, my wife's saying we need to pray, we need to intercede. We got to
Yep.
check ourselves and make sure we're.
You know, it's interesting. The angels, it says, are going to be in the heavens preaching the everlasting gospel of the kingdom. Well, this is our opportunity. You know what the gospel of the kingdom is? He's coming back. And like you said, Allan, he's pissed. He's coming back, but he's coming to take over and to establish his kingdom.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect opportunity to declare that. I think the one person got upset is because I didn't mention anything later on in my conversation with her about, oh, you're going to be raptured out of here and everything's going to be okay. And I'm going, I told her, I'm not going to go there. You don't want me to go there. You'll even get mad at me even more than you are now. I go, he's coming, and he's coming to take over. That's the gospel of the kingdom.
Yeah.
Part of it. And that's why he's given us gifts, and he's given us tongues, and given us the authority to heal, because that's what needs to be on display during times like this, because we got the goods. So I have to say this one other thing. I guess the one thing where the Nazarene pastor, he asked me, he goes, have you seen the ministries and how we are getting people to come to the church, and the church is growing? And I'm going, you know, I was exhorted by a good friend and mentor. He was John Wimber's brother-in-law. And he looked at me and he goes, yeah, we taught people how to make people churchmen, but we didn't teach them how to make them disciples. And when I said this, I go, yeah, we're usually teaching people how to navigate church and how to be more fruitful in church and be part of the group and part of the club, rather than doing what Jesus said. And that's not to be derogatory or anything, but it's to put things in place and in order that we're supposed to. And these kind of things, what's happening with Israel, is the wake-up call in me to say, I need to speak that out, especially if I have a line into someone's life that's saying, he's at a precipice. I could see he's dangling there. Something when he went to Sukkot affected him. And I'm going, you know what? I got to speak truth. I got to speak up. I'm saying what's important. And that's what I would encourage everyone where they're at right now is You see someone that's sick, lay hands on them and saying it's because God's energized you to do the work of the kingdom. Because when you're doing this, you're telling him what's going on, and you can see globally that God's on the move and he's about ready to come back. Just, I'm going to get back. I'm backing off.
And it's crazy that somehow, some way, God thought that we we should be the ones living here during this time.
That's right. We're privileged. Man, we are privileged to live in this time.
It's sobering.
Hey, let's just tell the viewers that you were going to open up for questions if you wanted it too. You know,
Yeah.
not that people are withholding, but FYI, people have questions. Alan in particular wants to answer them.
Well, Facebook didn't work this morning again. Their API is having some issue, but we'll post the link to the YouTube. But yeah, if you have any questions, nothing, huh? Okay, well.
Can I read Psalm 20?
You can do whatever you want, Kris.
All right, let's do it. I'm thinking of it as a prayer, of course, but
All right.
we'll just pray it out loud. May the
Make
Lord
it
answer.
so.
May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and give you support from Zion. May he remember all your offerings and regard with favor your burnt sacrifices. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. May we shout for joy over your salvation, and in the name of our God, set up our banners. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions. Now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with the saving might of his right hand. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They collapse and fall, but we rise and stand upright. O Lord, save the King. May he answer us when we call.
That's a great word. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but I will trust in the name of the Lord my God. You know, the cry of Jesus on that last and great day of the feast. All ye who are thirsty, come to me, and I will give you drink. And out of your innermost being will flow rivers of living water. And I think the Spirit of God was shouting that on that day when they were attacked. Boy.
It will be interesting to hear the future testimony or stories of people that were being attacked or in crisis and were saved or miraculous. I mean, I'm sure there are some stories out there. I mean, I know it with God answering prayers for individuals, you know. It'll be interesting to see how God accelerates his testimony and his glory through
Yeah.
some of the stories that will come out of this.
Well, Roxanne has a question.
Take it, Lenny.
You know, he said that to the kings. He said that to the leaders. Whether he said that here, we don't know. But
That's
it
right.
seems
We
like
know.
with one voice, they're saying, we're not going to stop until we get rid of Hamas. So there must be instruction somewhere. And it's not to get rid of all the peoples there. He's not destroying this whole village. They want to go in with a very, very specific plan and saying, we will not allow Hamas to live anymore. That's a tall order because that's a lot of different people groups. But I could say God's leading Israel and their leadership to destroy the cancer in their midst. I'd say that. But if just to apply that verse there, I don't think they're going to kill everybody that's in the Gaza Strip now.
Right. And we don't know what God is telling them. If God is telling them anything, or if they're hearing, or we just don't know.
Yeah, we know.
And what's our opinion? I don't know. I don't know if God is saying that, or if God would say that today. I don't know.
You know what? We need to pray for those people there that they receive Messiah too, though. All those ones there's a bunch of innocent people probably
Yeah.
in that Gaza Strip that need the Lord. And so that's one of the things we got to really watch our heart, not only to pray for Israel and their success, but to also pray for those that God wants to be brought into the kingdom.
Yeah.
You talk about a confusing time.
Yeah. I mean, because there's there are believing Jews and there are believing Arabs in the land, in and out of the Gaza. Obviously, I mean, it's
Yeah.
and I know there's people out there saying, well, Israel is indiscriminately bombing Gaza. What about the all the innocents in there? Well, I mean, it's called war. I mean, it's not like Israel just started lobbing bombs or airstrikes in the Gaza. No, this is this is the answer to what the Arabs are doing or have done. Yeah, the human shield. There are human shields being used by them. So yeah, it's not an easy conversation. It's not nothing about this is easy.
Nope.
You know, um, but there are war crimes being committed, and that's a real thing. There are rules of engagement, and they're not adhering to them.
Yeah, I was just reading. Look at Joab. He committed war crimes. King David knew it, and Joab, the general, got his in the end because he killed righteous men, even in war. That was his own brothers. And it's interesting. That's not going to go unpunished by the Lord. It isn't. But the fact is, there was war.
Right, and that goes for all sides. You know,
All
it's
sides.
we need to also, obviously, we need to be praying about. Well, does Gaza belong to Israel biblically? Well, yeah. Um, Caleb chased the Nephilim from the mountains of Engedi area, pushed them across the southern desert, and held them at Gaza. So, I mean, there's there's a spiritual component regarding this place. We need to also be praying for our government, um, for whatever they may be involved with in this matter, but also we need to be praying for our government so that it goes well with us and that we're safe here.
Yeah. That we're that sheep nation. What one person said it last night in an interview. He says, well, you got to say something about what they did for Israel. He goes, did they release a battle group of ships to Ukraine? No, they wrote checks, but they sent the big one over to Israel. They sent the Gerald Ford with all the destroyers and everything to be lodged right off of Tel Aviv. That's huge. That was a big statement for the United States to do that. Someone must have got their attention. Maybe it was an angel putting a hook in the jaw of our president or one of those leaders there. But with Ukraine, they just wrote them checks. And the memes are already starting to come out on that. Can you save us a few billion? On Facebook, I saw something about that with the Ukraine president. I'm going, oh no. And yet at the same time, we did bring our battle group over there. That was action when they did that. So that's why we're praying really well. We got to pray for this country for that. Lord, please make us a sheep nation.
I suggested last night that this morning would probably be aggressive and and I think I'm just tired of there's just so much going on. It's just like it's it's overwhelming, it's sobering, it's disturbing, it's it's cool. No one saw a blackout. They can hear us and see us. Did you guys see it?
It looked normal to me. I didn't see
Oh,
it.
all right.
Yeah.
I saw it here. There's like the this little swirlies on all three frames. I'm like, oh no. Yeah. Um, Here's the thing. We all sensed, a lot of us sensed something was going to go down September, October. I mean, we talked about it. We mentioned it.
Yep.
We sensed something was going to happen. We weren't, is it the banking? Is it this? Is it that? What, I didn't anticipate this. And I love see that's the most amazing thing, right? It's like that great meme. Here's how I thought the end of the world was going to look like, and it's like this gladiator crazy, right? Here's what's really going on. They're in their pajamas at home watching stinking Netflix because that's it's we never know. I mean, we literally don't have. It's interesting that all anyone got was a sense of unrest. That's it. I mean,
Yep.
Christina was telling me that Cindy Jacobs mentioned it. I think right. They were in Israel, or they sensed something, but they didn't. Kind of like what happened to me in Vegas, and so I think it's interesting that nobody got a clear prophetic word regarding what was going on or what was about to happen. Nobody. I mean, no one.
No.
I mean, nobody did. Interesting, right? I mean, that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
It's really interesting.
This has been in the works for a year, some people are suggesting. And they've been training since August or something. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, even if it's only been 2 or 3 months, okay, 90 days. No one got a word. No one got any indication. I mean, I didn't hear anything from anywhere. No one. Nowhere. So there is that. We have to constantly be vigilant. We have to constantly be, you know,
We have to be reading the word and understanding what the word says and what's unfolding. I know that. But the indifference, well, like what Christina brought up is, remember what Jesus said? He goes, even just like in the days of Noah, he goes, they were indifferent. They ate, they drank, they were given in marriage. Life was going on like everything's normal. And you know what's interesting? If you look at the narrative of the book of Revelation, it's like that all the way up to the abomination of desolation. And even then, they're going, well, is this really that bad? They were giving gifts when the two witnesses were murdered. They're saying,
yeah.
these are the guys that are causing all the trouble, man. They're
Yep.
taking away from my partying on the weekends and just what I want to celebrate for. And my money's not as worth as much anymore. And finally, this guy's taking care of them. And then they rise from the dead. That's the attitude of the people on the earth, even at the height. So are they even really, people goes, well, have we seen any contract for 7 years? You know what? In the scripture, it doesn't say you will see that. It says it will happen. But everybody's waiting to say, well, that's our way out of here. Most likely, we won't know when that contract is signed for 7 years. So is it going to be like when he came? They didn't even know it. He came as a baby. They didn't know it.
Christina goes, huh? I mean, this is what she told me Saturday morning. Huh? Didn't you just announce on Tuesdays we were going to go to Israel? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Next year in Jerusalem.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine last night who he's a Catholic. They're taking a group in January. They don't even know if they'll be able to go. And I'm like, yeah, we don't know how long, or we don't know what this is going to look like.
Right.
Yeah, they got some people out through Jordan. I heard that. Apparently, some friends of his arrived on Saturday, and they were able to get them out through Jordan because there's no flights going in or out.
Did Lance Wallnau get out because he was over
I don't
there
know.
during Sukkot?
I don't know. I haven't really been looking around, but I don't know.
I've been looking online to see if there's no posts, and there's usually a lot of posts from him.
Yeah. Oh, so he hasn't posted anything?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
I don't know. Because there was a lot of people there.
There was a lot of people there this year.
A
Tons.
lot of people there this week. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't even gone to his page or anything. Have you guys? Have you? So you have, eh?
I have not.
No, Lenny, I guess.
No, a friend from Santa Maria, he goes, here's his video. The last video he saw, he was talking from Israel. I go, yeah, I know. I haven't seen anything since then.
Oh, he posted 6 hours ago, but I think it might be an old. It's the show, the Lance Wallnau show, Prophetic Insights or something. Yeah, this is footage of him speaking somewhere.
Because I was waiting for him to speak up, and
Yeah, I don't. This isn't. I think this is older footage. You know how that he puts it up sometimes. 19 hours ago, is this World War III? Israel at war? That was based on something that Mario Murillo. It looks like he's in his garage office. So I think he's back in Texas.
oh, good.
19 hours ago, and he's talking. Is this World War III? Israel at war? And that's what Mario Murillo was posted earlier this weekend. Over the weekend. Yeah, no, he's obviously in his garage office. So okay, thinking he got out.
Safrain's got this right. Put on the armor. Every day.
Well, this is a different type of Chameleon Church show this morning. If you're new, sorry. If you've never been here before, this isn't what it's usually like. I haven't had a conversation with my grandkids about this. I'm sure Safrain has. I haven't. What did your kids think, Kris? Did they have any thoughts?
They just had questions like what's happening, like what it didn't go super deep, but and a lot of it was before a lot of the footage and stuff that come out, or I was familiar with it, but just talking about war, atrocity. There's good and bad people in the world, even those that don't love the Lord. There's just nutty things, Jerusalem being the center, Israel being, just kind of next level conversations for sure. Tried to leave them with hope, but also, in this world you have trouble. The Lord does not promise us freedom from trouble, but take heart, he's overcome. And not to get shaken, stay alert, stay strong, stay under the Lord's covering, stay in the shadow of his wings, dwell with him daily. That's kind of where it went. I think it's, if I think when I was a teenager.
Wow.
Sorry.
Wow. If I think about when I was a teenager, world government, world atrocity stuff would be hard to understand and fathom. So, it's a little different now with media, and although they don't watch much television. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. Like Safrain is saying, knowing people personally that are on the front line. Apparently, my grandkids want to go fight with the IDF. It's remember those meetings I told you guys about that I had on Zoom with the Messianic Church in Israel. I was
Yep,
like
yep.
on two. I was like on two meetings, and it was just like I'm like watching the Bible before my eyes on Zoom because it's like these are the people, the actual Messianic Church leadership. There's like 75 people in those meetings, and they've been living in the land for decades. Um, this has kind of united them. Shondel's been having conversations with people. This has helped unite them a bit, which is always a good thing, I guess, right?
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
So, man, it's exhausting. And I've been trying to avoid updates because some of the footage is just not fun to watch. You know, I've been real careful not to put certain things up or to share certain things because it's just yucky. It's enough to know that it's bad, let alone, you know. I hope Lenny's all right with that phone call.
Yeah, it was a nurse canceling my procedure for this morning, moving it 2 weeks ahead of time. And yesterday they were saying, you got to have this. So I go, it's all right. I had to take it. Sorry.
It's all right. We were just talking smack about you. That's all.
That's okay. It's good. It makes me stronger.
Could you feel it?
I could feel it. My muscles were pulsing.
Like the quickening was that like in
Yeah,
Highlander?
that's it.
I've never seen that movie. I don't watch radio or movies, so I've only heard about it.
I think I've seen every one of the Highlanders. Off with the head.
Oh my gosh! Oh man, Lenny. Well, man, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for the protection of God's people in His land. Pray that God doesn't have a blind eye or a deaf ear. Pray that He gets resolved. That pray for mercy, mercy and grace. Pray for His. See, the whole world. So all the world need right. They need to know that there's an Elohim in Israel,
Amen.
and they would be quickened to that fact, quickened to that reality, and pray for the church here in America. Pray for our government, local, federal. All the branches of government. Pray for them. Pray that the deceiver would be held back regarding the truth, regarding the false narratives. Pray that the church in the West would waken to the reality of what we talked about in Romans 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, chapters 9, 10, and 11. Um, pray for peace. Pray that this doesn't escalate to anything more. Yeah.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
And forgive those that trespass against us.
That's right. Every day.
and that we wouldn't be led or we wouldn't be tempted. But that we would be delivered from evil. That's how Jesus prayed. That's how he told us to pray.
Yeah.
That his kingdom would come and that his will would be done here in this realm as it is in heaven, as it is in his realm. Yep. So I know we didn't do the whole dream thing last night. We'll do that next Monday night. I'll set that up. Do you know that we'll do that on Monday night? So Christina can wrap that up. All right. Well, the rockets are going off again. On that note, have a good week. I'll be popping in on 2-minute warning, but not on Thursday.
All right.
Blessings, protection, blessings, and God's grace and mercy.
Amen.
On all of us.
You're listening to Chameleon Church. Biblical Antidotes for the Modern Man. With your host, Allan Aguirre.
The views and opinions expressed during our broadcasts are solely those of the broadcast producers, hosts, and/or guests, etc., and are not necessarily the views or opinions of the Travelogue Network, its sponsors, or affiliates.